starting this Thursday. We got big-time college football, but I want to start with the biggest game of the weekend for me, perhaps the biggest game of the season, depending on how you want to cut up. That is Colorado at number 17, Texas Christian, according to the Associated Press. Now, in my rankings, I have Colorado at number 20, and I have Texas Christian at number 15. And while we can disagree about the numbers next to the names, everybody is showing up for prime time. And I'm over the moon about this, not just because Big Noon is down there in Fort Worth, but because that's home base for the man, Coach Prime. You'll know he didn't just make his legend as a Dallas Cowboy in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's also where he started his coaching journey as an offensive coordinator at Trinity, where his kiddo, Shedeur Sanders, was absolutely destroying people. Now, you could say what you want about the parochial league in Texas, but Texas high school football be Texas high school football. And along with Shedeur Sanders' development has been the development and coaching of Prime, who got into this to coach his boys. And now he has his boys at Colorado, along with the number one player in the 2021 class, Travis Hunter, who believes that he's the top Heisman candidate. Yeah, I saw that too. I think he had Caleb Williams at like number 3 on the list behind Shedeur Sanders. So you can already understand. They're saying, bring it. We want all of it. We want all the smoke. Give us every bit of this Gilbert Arenas you got. Meanwhile, Texas Christian, they know what they up against. Even Coach Dykes is like, hey, we got to throw out our film from last year because that's just not the same football team. Literally. We have never seen the kind of makeover on a team, on a roster in an offseason, the way that we saw a makeover at Colorado. As much as I want to point to what Lincoln Riley did at USC, where he turned over about 46 spots on their 85 scholarship chart, we're talking about just keeping 3 starters from last year's Colorado team, and they might not all start. 2 of those 3 are offensive linemen. Just underscores how difficult it is to find athletic big men that can play on both sides of the ball. But among other things, they got better through the transfer portal, and that's the reason that I have them in my top 20. Stick with Colorado here for a second. They got more than 7 dozen players, and many of those dudes come from programs you know. I'm talking about Kavasier Smoke from Kentucky. I'm talking about Savell Smalls from Washington, Florida State, Tarek McClendon. My goodness, we got Clemson on here. We got Michigan on here. We got Arkansas on here. Miles Slusher. I got to stand up, Miles. Miles from down the road. Miles from around the way. He played his ball at Broken Arrow. I'm telling y'all, man, Tulsa boys absolutely smack. Yes, Broken Arrow, Owasso, get on board. It's green country. You from the Tulsa Metro. You can ride with this. But Miles is one of them dudes that I always thought was going to be great, and I'm glad that he's got an opportunity to play in Charles Kelly's defense. And then, I mean, we already pulling dudes from Alabama, but also let's not sleep on the kid Shedeur, because I've been saying this, the way that he carries himself, the way that his work ethic has showcased itself, he's cool under pressure. He has done the winning at a high level, 70-8 all time as a starting quarterback. It's about really the assets around him, and he's got them. Travis Hunter's going to go both ways, right? Jimmy Horn Jr. is going to be out there catching passes. Tim Brewster's going to find a tight end because that's what Tim Brewster does. Remember, Kyle Pitts was a Tim Brewster product at Florida. And this before we get to the other side of the ball, well, Charles Kelly not just have Miles Slusher from the 918 stand-up, he's also got Cormani McClain, who's going to be on that other side of what I think is going to be 2 shutdown corners on that defense. I'm excited to see what they could do. And that's, man, we got Alton McCaskill in the backfield. Like, it's a good football team. As a matter of fact, it's almost like Deion Sanders was playing fantasy football inside of college football. He's also dealing with the sport as it is. Like, this is something that I have been talking with producer Kat about for years, quite honestly, is RJ, talk about the sport as it is, not as you want it to be. And I think that is how Deion Sanders made his way into the sport. Remember, the transfer portal was already in when he got started coaching at Jackson State. And all he did was recruit out of it. And all he did was get a 5-star and the number 1 player in the class to commit to play at FCS HBCU Jackson State, a place that couldn't even come up with no clean water for some time. You know what I'm saying? That's how badly dudes want to play for this man. And they got an opportunity to really put him on the map in a way that people have to respect. I think everybody's interested, right? We say intriguing when we want to be passive aggressive in many respects, right? We say interesting. We don't say exciting. We don't say passionate. We don't say absolutely bringing it every single day, because that's what Prime is doing. That cowboy hat is not for show, okay? He's going to be out here like Bass Reeves getting it in. You understand me? But on the other side, let's talk about Texas Christian here for a second. They got the benefit of having the best quarterback on campus last year start for them this year. Remember, Chandler Morris was the starter against Colorado last year. He got injured. Max Duggan comes in and puts together a Heisman finalist campaign, leading Texas Christian to a national title runner-up finish last year, coming out of nowhere. I'm telling you, it was an RKO. You know what I'm saying? Randy Orton was proud of them, the way that they showed up, them Horned Frogs. I'm also excited to see Trey Sanders in that backfield, Tommy Brockermeyer on that line, and JoJo Earl at wideout. That's 3 Alabama transfers. That's before we talk about what Savion Williams is doing out there, or what we expect Josh Newton to do, or Bud Clark to do, and Joe Gillespie being one of the most slipped-on coordinators in the entire sport. Love that man to death. I think this is going to be a really fun football game, and I think it's going to have consequences, right? One of the things that we really enjoy on this show is talking about rankings. That's what the show is about. I rank stuff. Y'all like me to rank stuff, right? This is going to directly impact my top 25 one way or another. Either Texas Christian is moving up or down, Colorado is moving up or out, because there's just not that much room in our sport for losers. It's not the kind of sport like the NFL where you can go 500 and expect to make the playoffs. That's not what we do here. You got to put together wins, baby. You got to stack them up, because 2 wins knocks you out of this thing called the college football playoff as it presently stands. But I'm also looking at both of these offenses, and I get giddy because I could see 2,000-yard receivers, a 3,000-yard passer, and a 1,000-yard rusher on either one of them. They're both that stacked. It's about, can you keep a lid on the defense? Can you put a lid on that thing called the end zone? That 3-3 stack gives people problems. I'm sure Shedeur Sanders has been watching so much film of it, he's tired of seeing it. And we'll really interested to see what Charles Kelly's defense looks like. But there's no way that I couldn't be excited about this. Seeing Joe Gillespie go up against Sean Lewis calling plays on a chess match with that volcanic bicycle that they're going to be riding, right, against that 3-3 stack, and knowing what Joe Gillespie was able to do to Texas on the 40 acres and Bijan Robinson last year. Again, if you're not excited about this football game, I don't know how you're a fan of the sport, but you are a fan of the sport because you're watching this show, and you're a smart fan of the sport because you're watching this show. All right, now let's go to the first game on Fox's air that is basically a big noon game. Just happens on Thursday night, right? That's Nebraska at Minnesota. Thursday, that is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm excited about this one. It's a sturdy test for Nebraska. It's a sturdy test for a program that is looking to climb its way back, all right? Minnesota's coming off of back-to-back 9-win seasons. I mean, PJ Fleck has that boat rowing, you know what I'm saying? Like, they all doing the Viking row in the same direction. They're going to have to do it a little bit differently this season, though, because there is no Kirk Soraka, right? He's at Rutgers now. And there is no Tanner Morgan. He's just gone, right? You're talking about Ethan Kaliakmanis as a starting quarterback, who is the highest-rated quarterback that Minnesota has got in the last 10 years. Not too shabby, but he's going to have to get some help here, particularly from guys like Sean Tyler in that backfield, because nobody's going to replace what Mo Ibrahim meant to Minnesota, what he really meant to the sport. That man was outstanding as a tailback, and they leaned on him hard and heavy. That inside zone they ran with him was really difficult to stop. They're going to need Ethan to be on his best behavior and getting this ball to some playmakers out in space, which is what I think separates Minnesota from a 9-win team to a 10 or 11-win team. If Brevin Spanford, Chris Autumn-Bell, and Daniel Jackson can get loose in patterns, Minnesota might be up to something, right? And it's a huge game in the Big Ten, because that's a Big Ten West game already, right? You have an opportunity to take a lead. And I know the more open of the two divisions in the Big Ten, for the last time that we're going to have divisions in the Big Ten, you need to capitalize on this. If you're Minnesota, go ahead and get you a win, get yourself in position to make a charge toward that Big Ten championship, and then give yourself an opportunity to shock the world and win a Big Ten title. I'm really interested to see what Tyler can do, especially if he can put up the kind of all-MAC numbers that he had at Western Michigan. We're talking about 146.8 all-purpose yards a game in particular. The bane of Carl Spackler's everywhere might ruin a little more than your par 3, them Golden Gophers. On the other side of the ball, it's Jeff Sims' time, baby. We've been talking about him. I understand the talent. I've talked about the talent. Matt Rule has talked about the talent. He hadn't been able to always put it together at Georgia Tech. But with Marcus Satterfield calling the shots, Anthony Grant behind him, Marcus Washington out there in patterns, probably on his Trey Palmer this year, you have an opportunity to do something really great. It's why he was number 5 on my list of, well, the most important newcomers 2023, because what he can do for Nebraska could mean so much. They win 6 games at Nebraska, they're throwing a party. I remember some time ago, that would have been cause for everybody to get fired. Now, no, somebody get the stringers out, put the party hats on, put the candles on the birthday cake, because 6-6 is going to make Nebraska fans so happy, but they're going to have to come out and run the ball and stop the run against Minnesota if they expect to do that. Nebraska last year, horrible against the run, garbage against the run. And then as the season got on, they seemed to get worse. An example of this is actually Anthony Grant, who was outstanding as a junior college running back, shows up 2021, averages 120 yards from scrimmage a game through the first 5, and then falls off a cliff to just 45 from scrimmage a game. You got to be able to pound that out and make that happen over the rest of the season. Again, I'm looking at Marcus Washington as, I think, the best deep threat for Jeff Sims, who's also going to have to go back there and make it happen. He might have to scramble for a little while. He might have to pick up some first downs that they probably shouldn't get on some 3rd and 12s, some 3rd and longs of that sort. But he has the talent to really make this a game against Minnesota. And I think you're going to take that if you're Nebraska. If you're in this game in the 4th quarter with an opportunity to win it, that's a win for you. And if you can come out 1-0, take a lead in the Big Ten West, that's found money. You know what I'm saying? You're already closer to bowling. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.